Hello everyone!
Hello!
My name is Stefan and welcome to my channel SPD Nordic Vision. So today, as you can see, I invited my American friend Brendan here to my channel again.
Yep, I'm back.
Yeah. So for those who haven't watched my previous video with Brendan, we basically talked about Icelandic housing for the students especially. So you can go here to check out the link. And also, Brendan is a YouTube creator as well, and his channel is mainly talking about how to create YouTube videos from scratch, as well as some fun things like Pokemon. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Without further ado, let's get into today's topic. Shall we?
Absolutely.
Okay. Okay. So today, in our video, we're going to talk about the culture difference between United States and Iceland. So first of all, Brendan, would you like to give us a bit of like self-introduction and your family, and then grow up in America, how does it feel like, the good things and the bad things?
Sure, absolutely. So I was born in the 90s in Charlotte, North Carolina. So North Carolina is a southeastern state in the US. And it has a bit of a kind of like Appalachian culture to it. I know that's a bit obscure, but it's a very strong cultural influence.
Mm-hmm.
And I grew up with a father that came from the Midwest. He was born in Illinois, and my mother was born in Charlotte. So I had kind of a mixed cultural upbringing.
Right.
I have one brother as well. He is 4.5 years younger than me, so that makes him 26 now.
That is so specific.
I know. Yeah, it's still, you know, I'm freshly 30, so all these numbers are very forward in my head.
Right.
So I grew up, as I mentioned, in a mixed culture. So Midwestern states in the U.S. are typically a little bit more, how to say, old-fashioned. So people from the Midwestern states and people from the Southern states typically have different ideas of bringing up children. I noticed this pretty early on, especially when my brother was born. We had different influences as we grew up. So I grew up more raised by the Midwestern side of my family. I had more influence from my dad, and when my brother was born, my mother definitely gravitated more towards him, and it has has had a huge impact on who we've turned out as in our adult years. So moving on to kind of the good and bad things, the most negative thing I can think of growing up was just the focus on safety. That's only prominent in my mind because now living in Iceland, of course, this is one of the safest countries on the earth. So it definitely springs to mind just how safety conscious everybody is in the States. And even, you know, I was growing up in the 90s, so even back then, incredibly safety conscious. Mm-hmm. I grew up in the suburbs, so, you know, a little bit safer than growing up center city somewhere, especially in the South. But, you know, I still remember as a child, on a daily basis, you would hear like gunshots and things like that, which I've mentioned to people here, and that's just unheard of.
Like, it's unbelievable to hear.
Absolutely, no. Yeah. For me, it was daily. Like, luckily, I never had to experience any like violence or anything like that, but it was definitely around. And just the fact that the violence is around, it makes everybody super safety conscious. So that does have a little bit of an impact on your freedom.
Right.
But that actually will lead me into kind of one of the most positive things about growing up in the States, is that it does seem to offer quite a lot of freedom in just availability of things.
Yeah.
So as you all may know, Americans are very typically materialistic, and you know, I make the joke here to my European friends, like, oh, no, I'm a minimalist, but then you show up to my house and I look like a hoarder. So I am a minimalist when it comes to Americans. We tend to kind of mitigate our fears about going out into the world and experiencing things with just simply buying things and owning things. So I spent a lot of my childhood indoors playing games, watching movies, just jumping from one hobby to the next. So I had a lot of freedom and room to explore in that sense. And I would say those are probably good starting points for the good and the bad.
Yeah. Okay, so the second question I would like to actually ask you is that how have you decided to move to Iceland, and what were you thinking about Iceland before and after you come here?
Sure. So I came to work in Iceland in 2019. So I was working on a documentary. I was filming a documentary for an American company that was coming out here to do geological research and cultural studies within Iceland to create both a travel guide and a video to go along with that travel guide for their website. So that was why I was here. So I came to Iceland knowing very, very little about the country. Literally the only thing I knew about Iceland is that it was gorgeous. And I, obviously I went to film school, so I'd seen films, I'd seen Iceland in films, and I've seen just how otherworldly some of the landscapes were. So initially that's what drew me to Iceland. That's what made me accept the job in the first place.
Not only seeing Iceland from Game of Thrones, I suppose.
Oh no, I mean it's in Game of Thrones. It's in tons of like sci-fi. There are shots of it in the new Avengers films, I believe. That may be Norway. But just the idea of like the Nordic countries and just seeing pictures and seeing it in film, that's what drew me to the Nordic countries. It's just the overwhelming beauty. But once I got here, there's no better way to say it. I just felt home. So I have lived all across the U.S. I've lived on the East Coast. I've been in the West. I've been in the central portion, and I really never felt home anywhere. It's a bit of it's a hard thing to describe, but when you feel it, you feel it. I felt comfortable, I felt safe, and that was my initial feeling in Iceland. So when I went back to the States, I had to try to figure out a way to either get back here or to get to another Nordic country so I could feel that for longer.
Right.
It's a bit of an addiction, I guess.
Yeah. I guess I understand your feeling in terms of that, because for me, coming from Asia, for my whole 20s, I can say that I have been trying to look for a place where actually I feel most comfortable with, like the place where I can call it home. And luckily that I found that feeling here in Iceland. That is the reason why I'm feeling very happy to live here.
And it's a hard thing to assign a name to. Yeah. It is a feeling, especially if you've never had it before. Yeah. The moment it hits you, you're like, oh, it's kind of like there's menthol in the air. Yeah. Like you can actually physically feel the feeling of home. It's very interesting.
Yeah, it's like you found your home. Exactly. Like, this is the place where you can lie down, where you can relax, where you can connect with the environment.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, so Brendan, since now you live both United States and Iceland, so what do you say the biggest difference in terms of culture in these two places?
Okay, that one's easy. Definitely the biggest difference that I've noticed, at least, is the pace of life. And what I mean by that is, no matter where you go in the United States, the pace at which people live is very high. It has a huge effect on the way people work. And the biggest thing for me personally was just the amount of noise. So people are constantly busy, people are constantly in motion. It seems like there's never downtime for anybody, especially if you live, especially in the middle of one of the larger cities. Yeah. I've spent time in quite a few larger cities, not necessarily living there, but spending a lot of time just going for work or whatever other reason. And it just seems like there's never a quiet moment, especially if you go into a place like New York. they call it the city that never sleeps for a reason. Literally, it seems like it's business hours all the time, and that's because it is. People never stop moving. People never stop working.
Yes.
In Iceland, I think this is one of the things that gave me that sense of home, is that it's much slower paced. I'm not saying that people here don't work, and they work hard. They do. But it doesn't seem as frenetic. It doesn't seem like there's just a constant source of energy that doesn't go away.
Yeah.
And I'm using the term energy here to mean something that's negative, just because I like to relax. I need that to be able to relax, especially having a stressful job. It's important to me to have that time to relax, and that's nothing that I couldn't find that at all in the US.
Yeah, so the balance between life and work is like one of the biggest differences.
Right. That might be a better way to say it, is the balance between life and life outside of work.
Yeah.
Life with work and life outside of work.
Well, no wonder you like Iceland or Nordic countries, because it seems that here in Iceland or other Nordic countries, people turn to be good at it.
Yeah,
They know how to balance their life.
Absolutely. That's definitely something that people living in the States, learn to balance your life and work. Please. No workaholics. Okay?
And any other differences that you may say as well?
There are tons. I mean, I'll go back to the whole safety thing. So when I came here for work, I was here with a bunch of Americans, obviously, and we went on a tour of Reykjavik. And when we were on our tour, one of the first things that they told us was like, okay, so you may see people with, you may see strollers parked outside of like grocery stores or restaurants. Don't call the cops. It's okay. That's totally normal here. It's safe enough that people don't actually worry about this. So that's another huge thing.
Yeah.
Another thing is just we'll go back to materialism. So in the US, it's very common. You have everything available to you at all hours of the day. Partially because people never stop working.
Yeah.
But you have stuff available to you all the time. When I moved here, I definitely noticed a void in that area. It's not necessarily a good or bad thing. It kind of just lives in the middle for me. Mm-hmm. But one of the hardest things for me so far has been just like access to things like Amazon.
Oh.
In the States, if you think like, oh, I would like to have this, or oh, I need this thing.
Yeah.
You just, you go on Amazon, you press order, and it's at your house in 24 hours.
Yes.
Free shipping.
True.
Free shipping doesn't exist here in Iceland.
Yeah.
And we also don't have any access to Amazon. Of course, you can order things from like the US or from the British Amazon, but the shipping rates are incredibly expensive.
Yeah.
So it definitely puts a little bit of a hamper on being able to just get whatever you want when you want it.
Yeah.
You have to really weigh, do I need this? Okay, when do I need it? How badly do I need it? Am I going to be able to live without it?
Exactly.
Because I don't want to pay the import fee.
Yeah.
So that's another huge difference, and that's probably been the one that's been most impactful on me. But again, it's not a positive or a negative thing. It's just different.
Yeah, it's just you need to change a little bit of the way of living your life.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And I will say, it's not really a cultural difference, it's just an availability thing, I think. Mm-hmm. But the food here is of a much higher quality. So when people tell you, oh, the food in Iceland is so expensive, it is a little bit more pricey, not by any noticeable margin, in my opinion. But like, I had, not to get too personal, but I had some digestive problems when I was living in the States.
Okay.
As soon as I moved to Iceland, they disappeared. Yeah.
So that is the response of your body.
It's the response of the body to actual food and food with preservatives and all the other things that I was used to for almost 30 years,
Yeah.
So I can definitely feel the difference.
I think, that reminds me when I first time moved to Norway back in 2017. After like a month of living in Norway and eating the food there, of course I was working hard, but on the other hand, because the quality of the food, I lost weight.
Yeah.
So it was so...
Exactly. Just to help illustrate that. So I moved here during COVID, okay? So that means Gyms have not been open consistently. It's not like I've been working out. It's not like I've been in constant motion. I've not been doing anything like that. But I have lost weight since I've gotten here. I didn't have a whole lot of weight to lose, but I lost weight when I got here. I lost, I'm going to try my best at this conversion. So I lost 14 kilograms since moving here, and I moved here in August, so I've lost 14 kilograms. For Americans, that's, oh God, close to 30 pounds.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so people, if you want to lose weight,
move to Iceland.
Move to Iceland, yeah. Okay, so Brendan, since you're studying here, as far as I know, you're gonna be living here for a couple of years, right?
That's the plan, yes.
Okay, so do you have plans of visiting other Nordic countries, and if so, where and why?
Oh, absolutely. So that was one of the first. There's a lot of firsts here, but one of the first things I noticed moving to Iceland was how accessible the rest of the world was from here. I definitely have almost a hunger to visit the other Nordic countries, especially Norway. Norway was the first Nordic country I was introduced to. I started learning the language when I was a teenager.
Norwegian.
But I started learning that language when I was a teenager, just because I thought it was interesting and it was different. And I've always wanted to go to Norway. I don't know why I haven't visited Norway yet, but as soon as COVID ends, definitely Norway's on the list, Sweden is on the list, Finland is on the list, Scotland. I'll count Scotland as close enough.
Speaking of those countries, I think, are you having heritage from some of the places?
Yeah, I do. So I have a lot of Scottish blood, as well as a little bit of Finnish, which in my family we still haven't figured out. We haven't figured out where my Finnish blood comes from, because no one else in my family has it. At least not enough of it to register on DNA tests. So
why is
I'm a bit of a unicorn there. Mama. Yeah, well, I asked her. I was like, "What is this Finnish?" She said, "I don't know. It must be from your dad's side." And then I asked my dad, and he's like, "I have no idea what you're talking about." So, you know.
Okay, so Norway and other places that you're planning to visit in the future.
Yeah, Norway and other places, and there is some Scandinavian blood in there, but you know, it just says broadly Scandinavian, so Vikings.
True. Okay, so Brendan, what would be your suggestions to give to the people from other countries who want to move to Iceland, especially those people from the United States?
Okay, the first recommendation I can give, or the first tip, is if you come to Iceland, especially you Americans, come here with an open mind. So there's a lot of media going around about Iceland, and some of it includes cultural information, some of it doesn't. But I will tell you, there are things that are different here. People act differently, the people interact with other people differently than most US states. Some are similar, but differently than most US states. So come here with an open mind. Don't come here expecting anything specific out of Iceland based on your personal experiences growing up, because chances are there's going to be something here that doesn't quite fit in there. So come here with an open mind. And another great piece of information is they do speak Icelandic here. It's a completely different language, and people are very proud of Icelandic. It's a very old language. It hasn't changed too much. People are very excited about that. Everyone here speaks the, I don't want to say perfect, but close to perfect English. It's definitely passable. You will understand what they say, and they're more than willing to speak English to you. But a little tip I can give you is, if you can learn anything in Icelandic and say it to them, especially if you, like me, have a bit of an accent and they expect you to speak only English, if you can toss an Icelandic word in there, you're going to make that person's day. So if you want to impress, learn a few words in Icelandic, and it'll just make you feel cool too. You can impress all your friends. I'm very excited to do that when my American friends visit.
Exactly. Language is definitely something that I would consider quite important to engage if people move to Iceland, especially if they want to get into the society, quicker.
Right.
Yeah, because Icelanders, as well as other, Nordic people, they tend to be very kind of, I think, in my opinion, quite patriotic.
They are,
way.
absolutely.
Yeah, so if you do actually learn the language, it means that you respect culture.
Exactly.
So from the beginning, you already kind of get their heart, get their attention.
Exactly, and I think Americans are one of the biggest influx of visitors that Iceland gets. So they're very used to American presence. There was a base here for the war, so they're very used to the American presence. But it's always nice if you're going into another country to learn at least something in that country's language, even if it's something like, hey, can I have a glass of water, or where's the toilet?
Yeah,
just basic things. Yeah, But one thing I will say about that is Icelandic pronunciation can be a little difficult. So certain letters don't sound the same as they do in English, especially in American English. So, make your best attempt if you want to, but definitely don't feel like you absolutely have to.
Yeah, but believe that things will get better, like þetta reddast.
Þetta reddast, indeed, yes.
And any other suggestions that you would like to give to people who move to Iceland?
I think the most important thing, especially for Americans, and I can only really speak from an American perspective, is the open-mindedness. I think that's going to be the most important thing. Is if you can keep an open mind in every kind of aspect of your visit, then you're going to be much more well off. There are some things that are culturally shocking. There are some things that may be hard to swallow at first. And that's just simply because it is an older culture, and it's a much more comfortable culture. And what I mean by that is they're much more comfortable in their own skin as Icelanders. They're much more comfortable with everybody around them. It's hard not to find people that you know in the streets. There's a strong social network here.
Yeah, true.
And that influences the comfort of people here. Yeah. So you get especially if you go to a pool. I remember this being something that was a little shocking to a lot of the people that were in our work group. If you go to the pools, you're just thrown into a room completely naked, surrounded by tons of strangers.
Exactly.
And yes, it's a little shocking for Americans, and it may be even a little off-putting. But if you can approach things like that with an open mind, then your experience here will be much more enjoyable. Also, don't come here and you're free to do whatever you want, obviously, but if you come here, a recommendation I could give you is try some Icelandic food. Don't just go to the Subway and the KFC.
Yeah.
Try to get into some Icelandic food. It's some of it may look a little scary, but oh my god, it's good. Oh my god, it's good. Again, with the open-mindedness thing, if you can get past the way it looks, fantastic.
Yeah. So try some Icelandic food.
Exactly.
And this helps you to actually connect with even a deeper culture.
Right.
Yeah.
Try to be as Icelandic as possible, but you are an American, so own it.
Admit the differences we have, but try as much as we can to get into the society, to react like Iceland.
Of course.
That's the key.
Integrate as well as you can. That's the whole fun in traveling anyways. So.
Yeah. All right. So I think we also kind of covered if people come to Iceland for a visit, what kind of culture shock we say, or culture differences that they might need to prepare to see, and also some suggestions that we would suggest them, like trying the food and stuff.
Yeah, we've touched on a couple of the in my opinion, the key differences between what it's like in the US versus what it's like here. So if you can keep these things in mind, your visit to Iceland is going to be a lot more fun, especially having a little bit of former knowledge of kind of what to expect. So you're not completely thrown off guard when you get here.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Okay, so that's about today's video, that we're talking about the difference between United States and Iceland. Yeah, if you like my channel, and don't forget to follow me on the other social platform, and I put all this on the screen as you can see. And also, thanks again to Brandon.
Of course.
And I will put Brandon's link to his channel on my video description, so you can find his channel, more information there.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right,
I'll see you guys there.
yeah, thank you, bye.
Bye.